Hello and welcome to the course on Deep Natural Language Processing, and in today's tutorial we're going to talk about the plan of attack. We've got quite a diverse and involved intuition section coming up ahead, lots of concepts to grasp, so it'll be good for us to at the start have a bird's eye view of the things that we're going to discuss. Alright, here's what we will learn in this section on intuition. First of all, we'll talk about the types of natural language processing. This will lay the foundation, and we will discuss a Venn diagram which demonstrates NLP versus deep learning versus deep NLP and shows us where the sequence-to-sequence model lies. And that diagram will keep coming up because it'll be very helpful for us to keep track of how we're progressing into the world of natural language processing. Then we'll talk about classical versus deep learning models. Look at some actual examples of applications of NLP. And this tutorial will also be useful just to show us that natural language processing is not limited simply to chatbots. It actually covers a huge range of different applications, and we'll see a couple of them here. Then we'll talk about end-to-end deep learning models and how they're different to non-end-to-end deep learning models and what their advantage is. And then we'll talk about the bag of words NLP model. We'll see two of its variations, and this will help us gradually progress to the most advanced model, the sequence-to-sequence model, which we'll start discussing in the next tutorial in the sequence-to-sequence architecture. This is the model that we're actually after. This is what we're going to be implementing in our chatbot. And then we'll talk about the sequence-to-sequence training. So it's intentionally placed in this order, that first we talk about the architecture, and we'll actually see it in action as if it was trained, because that will help us better understand what is desired from the training, and then it'll be easier to cover off the training tutorial afterwards. And that's why they're in that order. And then we'll talk about beam search decoding, which is the way that the sequence-to-sequence architecture actually comes up with, or the model comes up with, the outputs that we want to see in our chatbot, the different various outputs. Very, very interesting conceptual approach here for beam search decoding. And finally, we'll talk about attention mechanisms. So this is an additional augmentation of the seg-to-seg model, which helps with longer-term memory for the algorithm. Again, a very interesting and quite new concept. And finally, on top of all of that, there's two annexes. Make sure to check them out. Annex 1 is artificial neural networks. Annex 2 is recurrent neural networks. So we've included these tutorials. These are the intuition tutorials only from our deep learning course. And the reason that they're here is because you will need a good understanding of both of them once you dive into the more deep learning side of things of this course. So for these two annexes, you should make sure that you've covered them somewhere over here before you proceed to the sequence-to-sequence architecture. Once you proceed, you will need to know ANNs, RNNs, and LSTMs, which are covered in this part. So the first couple of tutorials, first 4 tutorials, you're fine without these. But then once you go into these areas, just make sure that you are familiar with ANNs and recurrent neural networks, because that will be the foundation of our discussion further down the track. And there we go. That's the plan of attack for the intuition for this course. I really look forward to seeing you on the upcoming tutorials. And until next time, enjoy natural language processing.